we may as well get going. So, hello everybody, I'm Edward Bergen. I'm a principal analyst at FutureBridge in our food and nutrition department. And we're in the middle of a series. So, for those that came to our first session, it was on the 7 forces or the macro forces driving the food and nutrition industry. And today, though, is the next step below. So we blew up the industry to try and understand what are those big forces, and then we looked at the marriages between all of the micro forces, and those included consumer behavior and technologies and various stories that we were seeing coming through the industry every single day. And 4 trends shone out to us. And today is the first of those 4 trends that we're going to be presenting in a series today and then through the month of April on eating my emotions. But I'm going to leave it there because for those that haven't been to one of our sessions before, who are FutureBridge? We're a techno-commercial consulting advisory firm with European HQ and Indian HQ. We work across many different sectors, one of which is food and nutrition, to a 1 to 25 year perspective, supporting our clients in their innovation journeys. A little bit of a a point around FutureBridge. We've got some members of our team in the chat today, so if you have any questions at all, pop them in the chat. I will check them out afterwards. We can share the presentation with you as well. And of course, you're always welcome to drop us an email to or check us out on social media. But we will get moving. So to start with, I'm based in the UK, and I'm sometimes shopping at Marks and Spencer's, and I really love this story. So just this idea that there's this opportunity to really tell amazing stories about the nutrition in our food. And M&S this year, driven by their nutritionists, created a whole series of brain foods. It hit the shelves, and what I loved, it's absolutely full of rainbows, full of color, but really talking about, it's not just about physical health, but it's also mental well-being, brain boosting foods, and it really kicks off this whole story beautifully to see a retailer playing in this role. And the question is why? Why have we, over the last few years, really started to talk about our mood? And it's a really challenging topic, right? I've got 2 young kids, and they're going to be growing up in this world where it seems like kids are going through a really hard time. You just look at this stat here. 1 in 7, this is from the World Health Organization, 1 in 7 teens experience some kind of mental disorder every year. It's insane, the size of these numbers. And what is really positive, though, that we're starting to see is that industries are really reacting to try and understand and then to support. And the food industry can play a huge role on this as well. And then we've got this other side of the coin that consumers are looking to functional foods to help them with all of these challenges. 60% of consumers. Now, you wonder whether they're defining that as happy to have a piece of chocolate just to help me get through the day. But also, consumers are starting to understand and think about ingredients as well. Now, what is this story of mood food? Why has it become so prevalent? Why are we at FutureBridge seeing it as an exciting area? We've been talking about the mood for a while, and a simple level, and I guess it started out as the industry just recognizing that consumers were stressed or were tired, and they were targeting the mood with products. But what we do at FutureBridge is try to understand the different intricacies of ingredients and of mental well-being conditions, and really targeting the specifics. So if you think about maybe emotional stress, how consumers are, they suffer from stress, but some are suffering from anxiety, some are suffering from panic attacks, some aren't getting enough sleep. Some can really target the point in their day where they are struggling. And that is absolutely helping the food industry to understand how they can help. And then actually think about maybe there are other ingredients out there that can support consumers with their specific need. We're also getting better at understanding preventative health, just in general. We're understanding how what you eat and put into your gut can also help your brain, and the connections between the two. So it's a really great story, and consumers are starting to look to this industry to help them. But there are some challenges. Now, the main one is just the regs around it, and at what point do the ingredients that we might look at today, like psychoactive ingredients, at what point do they move from being a functional health ingredient into the worlds of, you know, THC or CBD, or other, psychedelic ingredients that would be considered illegal in some countries, or entering the grey area because it impacts how you react to the world around you. And of course, do they become very addictive? So this whole space, it has huge levels of stringencies and regulations around them before we can decide that an ingredient is okay to have. Um, the great thing is that there are some ingredients that have spent the many years on this journey, and that we're seeing reach fruition and signed off as an ingredient that we can have. And we'll look at some of those examples as we go through this presentation. The other problem is a lot of these ingredients, they make stuff taste super weird. You get weird aftertastes, tinny flavors, by utilizing those ingredients, and then you have a whole formulation problem, and you need to add sweeteners, and you need to add additional ingredients to a product. You need to process them in different ways, and then of course you move from health into ultra processed, and you're back to where you started again. So that's another one of those big challenges. And then finally is the volume of the ingredients that you need to actually have an effect. It's also just a really big challenge. So these are things that we know the industry is grappling with. Doesn't make it any less exciting, and we'll look at that. We broke down our ingredients into three groups when we pull this out, when we started to run what we call player ecosystem maps, for the different companies that are going to define mood food over the next 5-10 years and beyond, into psychobiotics, nootropics, and botanicals, adaptogens. So we broke down the industry into all of those, and we looked at manufacturers that are playing it, some big, some pretty small, but then also different academia and academic institutions that are partnering with brands or just running various tests to understand what ingredients can do for the consumer. And finally, we're seeing a lot of investors playing around in the space as well. So that's how we've looked at the ingredients. Now, we ran, and if you were in the first session, or if you've been in a session with us before, we quite like to look at early stage innovation and how the appearances of new ingredients in those early stages, how we can then predict that how they might grow commercially in the future. We call that a composite index at FutureBridge. We try to balance patents, scientific literature mentions, industry activity, investments, startups, and the list goes on, to get an understanding of how quickly a particular ingredient group, in this case, is growing, and then forecast its future as well. And what we saw, especially in 2024, is that ingredient groups like psychobiotics, even nootropics, all growing really quickly in those early stages of innovation. Um, and that's pretty exciting for us. So we're seeing them happening in those early stages. We may not be seeing it yet in sales because many of these ingredients are not yet signed off, but it gives you an idea of where the industry is moving and might move it over the next 5 years. And that's where this becomes pretty exciting. So we then map them. We map them into what those ingredients are and what they do, and what sort of formats we might see them appear in, and the technologies that link them together, to create an end product. So you end up with psychobiotics, which is often related to probiotics as well, and links between the two. We're seeing various fruits and nuts appearing in this, various spices and seeds appearing in this list, and some of our adaptogens as well, like ashwagandha that we're seeing in various products, all playing different roles and ingredients, and then different technologies to deliver the sort of the final end product. So we're seeing a whole variety of ingredients being used as mood boosters. Now, in terms of the end products at the moment and what we're finally seeing, the picture is unsurprising. Best way to put it. So we looked at new product launches over the past few years, and unsurprisingly, it's all about tea, mainly because the regs are a bit soft in the tea industry. So in tea, you're able to make many more claims than you maybe can across various other categories of interest. And that's definitely been the story for many years. But we are starting to see nutrition-based drinks, so some of those sort of weight management products as well, using these particular claims. And then beyond that, we're starting to see new categories appearing to play around with those different ingredients. So the future is looking bright, but of course, at the moment, those claims we see mostly in the tea industry. So let's look at some of the different product examples or even just the research examples that we're seeing to sort of give you a bit of a picture about what the future might look like. So this one's from South Korea and it's using the ingredient GABA, lactobacillus brevis fermented GABA. So gamma amino butyric acid. Now, the interesting thing about this one is it's talking about anxiety and stress. They're currently testing on mice, but in South Korea, but they're at those final stages and they're seeing some really fantastic results to reduce stress and anxiety. This ingredient does appear on products, but not always you're able to make the strong claim of this reduces stress and anxiety, and that's going to be the key. But GABA is a keyword that you should be thinking about over the next few years. I like this one. So everyone, obviously, we always talk about chocolate and cocoa playing a role in keeping us happy. But this is about polyphenols from cocoa, and I'm not a food scientist, so I'm going to do my best to explain this one. From a company called Ibima in Spain, and it's TRL level 6, so on the road, but not quite there yet to commercialization. They're also been already in sort of animal testing phases, but actually talking about cognitive decline. So we've got a trend coming up called Fueling Every Stage about maybe aging consumers and really to talk about preventative health and cognition. Really, again, a really exciting category. And we're seeing some great success from Ibima. If we keep moving, you've even got different categories like this one. So this is probiotic boosted noodles. So we're not even just seeing this in sort of the snacks and the drinks space, but the same thing where they've talked about promoting brain health and also intestinal health and together in this product from China, and they're sort of again TRL level 6-7 into the sort of pre-commercialization stages. You get examples like this one. So turmeric, we've talked about for a while as it's sort of anti-inflammatory, but again, often linking to brain health too. This is a product that's been commercialized. I guess it sits in the supplement category a little bit as well, but I quite like the format, the ability to just have a quick spray of an ingredient to give you that boost that you might need. Then, of course, you've got your supplement sweeties. These are little lollipops called Focus Buddies from a brand called Ollie in the US, and they've got cognizin citocholine, and they talked about mental attention and clarity as their main claim. So we're seeing all these different formats starting to appear. A lot of them as well in that kind of convenience space. I want to come back to another better you example because it's just around sleep, and this is a key challenge that many consumers say they are suffering from, sleep and stress being linked together. And this one uses an ingredient called HTP, tryptophan. If I'm pronouncing it well, I'm going to get told off by my colleagues a bit later on as well for this one. But again, using a spray-based format to manage stress and sleep before bedtime. We go to sort of one final example, and this is an example of Trip. Now, these guys have launched in the UK over the past few years. You'll have seen them on shelves for a long time. They've actually recently done a mindful blend, but they actually won an award beginning of last year, where they talked about having a CAGR of 389%, which was a hugely high figure for growth in the UK market for their sales. They're using ingredients like magnesium, like ashwagandha in their products. They're even using ingredients like lion's mane as another example, which is often linked to sort of brain health and mood and calming down. And they're again smashing it with sort of young teenage market, massive TikTok following, and they've been approved. So it's another interesting example of a brand that's playing around with that mood space, that are using these ingredients, and they sort of reached a space where they're starting to really work from a sales point of view as well. They ran really fantastic clinical trials as well on some of their new products, and it's another one to just have a look at just from a growth point of view. What we wanted to do before we close, because it's just a snapshot for you guys to just have a look at, we wanted to break down some of those different claims with the ingredients that we've covered a little bit today, but also what those ingredients then link to. So you've got examples. We talked about cocoa, magnesium boosted cocoa. As an example on here around supporting relaxation, around stress, helping to sort of regulate consumer mood a little bit and keeping consumers calm. There are some brands like Raka and Ombar that are using these, so those are ones to look up that are using magnesium-rich cocoa in their ingredients. You've got L-theanine from green tea, and this is another one that's talking about relaxation and also linked to re- reducing anxiety, but without making the consumer feel drowsy. And we're seeing brands like Good Day that are doing this with sort of functional chocolate. We mentioned HTP already, or another example would be Griffonia seed extract is another name for it. We're seeing that around regulation, helping consumers to sort of stay in that middle area rather than going into extremes in their mood. And we're seeing some supplement brands sort of playing around and exploring this one. And the list goes on. What we're finding really exciting is that there are actually quite a lot of ingredients now sitting in that established stage, being explored in different products and formats. But then many more that are in those under research sort of stages. So there's a lot to be excited for about this industry. So the question is, what if? What will the future look like when it gets to many more of these ingredients becoming regulatory approved? So before we finish, I wanted to put together a bit of an idea of what might we see in the future of our supermarkets or on our shelves. So you've got examples like this one, which is pretty cool. So the future of noodles and convenience foods. We might have a happy noodles product. So we talked about oral sprays today. We can talk about things like fortified water and convenience foods. But what about this? Replace the instant noodles that we might get in our corner shops with mood boosting ones. They make us happy anyway, so why not make it official? The link between using our wristwatches and our health tracking apps, but can we use cameras and equipment like that to also track our mood? Can it read these sort of watches, start to understand when are we feeling stressed in the day by understanding heart rate, sweat rate, whatever it might be, and help us by recommending products and services to us? We're not too far away from this. We've also got technologies appearing, and watch out for our AI trend coming up, where we're seeing mood monitoring that can happen, maybe even in a retail shop. So you walk into a kiosk like this one, it will read your micro expressions and recommend products, services, supplements, and foods to help you in your day-to-day journeys, to help you calm down, to help you relax, whatever that might be. Are we in a place where we'll be able to manage our mood when we go to retail outlets in the future? So that is our snapshot, all about eating my emotions. It's part of a massive report that we've created, which covers many more examples of this one. If you would like access to see the bigger research, please ping us, put your messages in the chat, send me a private message. There's Asta in the chat, send her a private message, and we'll make that happen and come and meet you and show you the wider part of our research. Otherwise, our next session is going to be on the 8th of April for our next trend on fueling every stage. Same time, same place as well. We're really excited to see you there. You can scan the QR code, and I think Asta's dropped the link into the chat as well. Otherwise, it has been a pleasure as always, and I can't wait to see you all again soon. Many thanks. I'll leave this on the screen for just one moment, and I'll hopefully see you all really soon. Bye.